Oh boy, I gotta tell you, that was entertaining to say the least. Controversial ending, Raiders Chiefs. Aidan O'Connell looks like Tom Brady. There's a lot to discuss, okay? Boys and girls of the Bleacher Report world or the YouTube world, if you're watching this anytime not at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Rodney. Thank you so much for coming back and watching another Raiders recap. It is week 13. We are 2-10. We were 2-2. We are now 2-10. Oh boy. But that's okay because there might have been some other games during the season that we lost where sometimes it would be a struggle to try to recap a game for 30 minutes where you just were like, we kind of played bad. What is Luke Getsy terrible? Gardner Minshew stinks. This game, for better or for worse, had a lot of juice to it. And we are going to break down all of that right now. If you're watching on Bleacher Report, make sure you're firing away in the comments section. This is a Saturday stream because we just came off of the Black Friday game, nationally televised. I'm sure it was viewed by a lot of people. And that ending, oh boy, that ending is not a good look for the National Football League. We will get into that. We will discuss it all. If you're watching after the fact on YouTube, make sure you're dropping some comments. Tell me where you're watching from. My initial takeaway from the game, and I'm going to try not to be a know-it-all, I told you so the whole time. Aidan O'Connell is a real quarterback. The offense showed. I know the points weren't there, but the offense showed explosively what they can do when you have a real quarterback under center. But like I said, this is not going to be, or I'm going to do my best for it to not be, an I Told You So podcast. So right off the rip, we need to talk about the box score, which was, and again, I also feel like a broken record. Another case of the Raiders outplaying their opponent, losing the turnover battle, and losing the game. If you look at the yards gained, I mean, that's insane that we gained more yards than the Kansas City Chiefs. Although, is it that insane? Because the Kansas City Chiefs this year have not been good, at all. And it's showing. Again, the Kansas City Chiefs lose to the Bills, right? And then they almost lose to the Panthers. They have to kick a field goal to win the game. And then now us, in return, give them another scare, nationally televised game. We had more total yards. We had more passing yards. We had more rushing yards. We had more yards per play. We had 2 more first downs. Third down efficiency was not good. Obviously, total plays was pretty even. Both teams got to the quarterback a lot. We sacked Patrick Mahomes 5 times. I mean, this game, 9 penalties for 101 yards. It didn't feel like we had 9 penalties. We'll talk about the penalty at the end of the game. Time of possession, we had the ball more than Patrick Mahomes, but there's that pesky turnover again. The turnover battle is one that we lose yet again. However, and again, I keep saying this, we will get to the officiating at the end of the game, because if I'm doing a recap of the whole game, that sequence at the end was an embarrassment for the Raiders. It was also an embarrassment for the National Football League. Here's what I want to start out with, because the polls are going to get more hot takey as we go on here. But the first thing I want to grade, again, you know me, I'm a big grader. Let's talk about the Raiders' effort, because I said last week, if we have competitive losses, if the team looks a specific way, Antonio Pierce is going to buy himself some time. Unfortunately, you have crazy sequences at the end of the game that maybe go against him, although I don't think you can blame him for that happening, right? But I think there's no denying, let me get out of this here. There's no denying the effort of this team, excuse me. Yet again, they play a game in which it feels like they should have won, or they at least could have won. I don't like should have. A lot of Raider fans, we should have won 6 games in a row. I like saying could have. We were in a position to win that game. A lot of times you lose games you should win, and you win games you shouldn't, right? It's the NFL. And this is yet another competitive loss for an Antonio Pierce-led team who might not be as talented as the team that they were facing, right? Last year, he was able to convert a lot of those competitive-looking teams into winning football games. This year, that's not the case, and I think the quarterback and the offensive coordinator have been to blame for the most of that this season. So you wanna give Antonio Pierce a lot of credit for having competitive losses. The problem then arises when you see how well Aidan O'Connell played, and you have to ask Antonio Pierce, whose decision was it to not play him from week 1? And we'll get into Aidan O'Connell in a second here, but I do wanna get into some of the comments here. The Chiefs are the worst 11-1 team I've ever seen. No denying that. They are not very good. I see George say fire AP ASAP. Justin says, this will be one this one forever will be remembered. They fought hard, bro. Only the Raiders to lose like that. You're not kidding. This team is still battling. I'm happy at least they ain't check out, but AP needs to get his staff right and get rid of the dead weight. Some fans are idiots. Good try, but typical Raider fashion. I like the fight. AP here to stay. What happened to the kicker Carlson? Let's talk about Carlson real quickly before I get to Aidan O'Connell, because Carlson missed 3 field goals, no doubt about it. I kinda don't blame him for any of those misses, and I want you to hear me out for just 1 second. The first kick he missed was 56 yards, I believe, and because of the weather, it came up really short, and I think that got into his head a little bit like it would any kicker, like, "God, I thought I hit that well." If you're playing golf and you're like, "This is my stock 6 iron, I'm gonna hit 200 yards or whatever," and you hit it perfectly, no wind, and it comes up 185 yards, it comes a 15 yards short, you're going to think next time I hit a 6 iron, I got to gas this thing. And then you gas the second one and you yank it left because you're not swinging the way you should be. I think that's what happened with Carlson. He missed the first one short. Then he's like, God, I got to boom the second one. And he booms it and he pulls it. And then the third one, we were going to punt. And then they called the timeout. And then they ran him on. It was 58 yards and he chunked it. So I'm a little off on the we need a new kicker bandwagon. I don't really think, yeah, King Six one, King Six, I guess you could say, says the ball is hard to kick when it's cold. So I don't know. I don't really blame him for that. The Kansas City Chiefs kicker, I know it's not Harrison Butker, also missed a kick that came up short. Enough with the kickers. I see the effort that's being graded here. A to B plus. I couldn't agree more. I'm going to end this poll right now because we're going to get into the stats here of the team, and this is going to be the most important thing we need to talk about, obviously, because you know we'll save him for the very end. The running game is there. Sincere McCormick should be RB1 moving forward. I probably should pick him up on my fantasy team, and you probably should too. I'm in a dynasty league, a keeper league, so Sincere McCormick. And it's funny, last year Zamir White was the running back who had the breakout game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now it's Sincere McCormick. Hopefully, Sincere turns out to have a better career than Zamir White did post Kansas City Chiefs. We were able to rush the ball pretty well with him. Receiving wise, again, Brock Bowers probably should be rookie of the year at this point. I don't think he's going to get it because it's just easier to give it to a quarterback. Although the rookie of the year award specifically feels like it should go to anybody. It should be able to go to a left tackle. If that left tackle is the best rookie of the year, okay, whatever. It's going to be Bo Nix or Jane Daniels, sure. We all know Brock Bowers is the best player to come out in this draft class, no doubt about it. Jacoby Myers, sneaky wide receiver 1 numbers again. Trey Tucker had a big play. And by the way, this is the potential of Trey Tucker when you have, I hate to say it, a real quarterback. And then DJ Turner had one big play. But let's talk about it, guys. Let's talk about Aidan O'Connell. And I want to see the thoughts on Aidan O'Connell in the chat right now. And again, this is not me going, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. Aidan O'Connell, 23 for 35, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He's the first quarterback. Let me see if I can bring this stat up because and I know it's on my phone somewhere here. Derek Carr, or excuse me, Derek Carr. I got Derek Carr on the brain. You'll see why I said Derek Carr in a second. Okay, I'm going to bring this up here. Aidan O'Connell is the first quarterback in this season to throw for over 300 yards against the Steve Spagnuolo Kansas City Chiefs. The teams they faced this season, the Chiefs, the quarterbacks were Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy, Bo Nix, Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins. Aidan O'Connell is the first quarterback this season to throw for over 300. Now, before I get into all the Aidan O'Connell takes, the Aidan O'Connell of it all, the Aidan O'Connellification of the Raiders right now, I need you to understand what I'm saying. Do I think Aidan O'Connell at this current moment is the next great quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders? No, I do not. I want to say that out loud till I'm blue in the face because I'm going to get so many comments that say, this guy really thinks after one game that we have our franchise guy. No, the problem lies here. Do I think he's also not that? No, I have no idea. There has to be room for a little bit of nuanced discussion when you're talking about the quarterback position. It is not as easy as Aiden stinks. It's not as easy as Aiden is Tom Brady. The reason why I was banging the drum for Aidan O'Connell, and we're going to do a poll right now. We're going to do a poll right now. Thoughts on Aidan O'Connell's future as of right now. The reason why I was banging the drum for this guy to start, even though there was no clear winner for the quarterback competition, Aidan was clearly the winner. The reason why I was banging on the drum for him to start is because I wanted to see what it would look like with Aidan O'Connell under center for a full 17 games. Because here's the problem now. If Aidan O'Connell plays like this for the next 5 games, the soup begins to get a little muddied with the Raiders. Now you go, well, we went 3-3 with Aidan O'Connell. Should have been 4-2 because we kind of got screwed at the end of the Chiefs game. So let's say we go 4-2 with Aidan. He throws 14 touchdowns and 3 picks, and he looks fantastic. But it was only 5 games. Was it Scott Turner who made him look better? Why couldn't Gardner Minshew have this success? We have the 5th pick in the draft now because we won a couple of games we didn't, or we shouldn't have. Should we draft a quarterback? Do we go with Aidan? Blah, blah, blah. There's not enough time now to see what you have because clearly, and I think this is inarguable, he's taken a step up from what he looked like last year, which is going to happen with any player in the National Football League that has any sort of work ethic. He went 5-4 last year, had some ups, had some downs. And if he was a first-round draft pick, I think people would be saying, ooh, this kid looks pretty good for a first-rounder. But because he was a 4th-rounder last year, we go, QB2. Let's move on. The problem is, what if he takes the next step? And last year in Arrowhead, he didn't complete a pass after the first quarter. Everybody loved to tell me that, and it's true. So what does he do this year on a short week with a surgically repaired thumb, having gotten the second-team reps for most of the season, in Arrowhead against the defending world champs, against the best quarterback in the league? He outplays him. And I see people saying, we need a new quarterback. Okay, irrelevant to the conversation. We're talking about Aidan O'Connell in this game. Who was the better quarterback on the field yesterday? And does that mean I'm saying Aidan O'Connell is better than Patrick Mahomes? Obviously not. I'd have to go check into a hospital if I thought that. But the facts are the facts. Aidan O'Connell, year 2 in this game, looks significantly better than Aidan O'Connell in year 1. And we won 5 games with Aidan O'Connell in year 1 where he started 9. Those are the facts. That's not to be argued. Aidan O'Connell looked like a legit quarterback. We'll see how these next 5 games play out. But again, this is why I wanted him to start since day one because I wanted to see what we had. And I see most people are saying QB2. Some people are saying bridge for next year, need to see more, legit franchise QB. I'm kind of in the camp of need to see more. I think at the very, very least, he's quarterback two, if not a bridge quarterback next year. And Aidan O'Connell made the game watchable. I agree. I like Aidan. He's only sophomore QB. If we had better, more consistent offense, he'd be in a completely different conversation. I agree. We would have at least 6, 7 wins. Maybe. Aidan showed promise. AOC is a good backup. I think right now AOC is at least a good backup. So let's discuss this right now. Okay, I'm gonna end this poll. Okay, and this is for right now, not assuming Aidan O'Connell is gonna play this well the next however many games. But when we talk about the draft, and I hope you've seen that Tom Telesco is not going to reach for players. He is going to take the best player available. But this is a question for the psyche of the people that watched the game yesterday. Are you 100% sure the Raiders should draft a QB this season? Now, from what I heard from scouts in the league or from people that have podcasts that used to be scouts in the NFL or prominent heads, besides Shador Sanders, this is not a great draft class for quarterbacks. That's just what I've heard. I've watched the film and I thought, I wouldn't be upset if they drafted a Cam Ward or a Drew Aller. But it's about value. It's about where are you picking. And a lot of people wanted us to trade up for a quarterback, but now we have Brock Bowers. And Brock Bowers looks like pound for pound the best tight end in the National Football League already. So if you're sitting there at 3, let's pretend, okay? And the Giants go Shador Sanders, and the Browns go Cam Ward. And you're sitting there at 3, and you can't trade back because you've got no suitors. You're going to just take Drew Aller with the 3rd pick or Jalen Miller with the 3rd pick? Or do you go Travis Hunter's right there? And now your offense is Travis Hunter, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers. You sign a running back in the offseason and you go Aidan O'Connell. Or do you try your best to trade back into the first round after drafting Travis Hunter or the Boise State running back, which would also look pretty good in silver and black? You try to trade back into the first round. You go Drew Aller, late first, early second, Jalen Miller, late first, early second. Because another thing we have to discuss here is taking a quarterback at the appropriate moment. I'm not saying that this game completely changed my tune on drafting a quarterback. I still think we need to take one. But I'm not reaching for Drew Aller or Jalen Milroe if the other two are already gone, if we have the 3rd pick and Travis Hunter or Genty is just sitting there. Especially with the way Aidan played yesterday. If he could play like this consistently, you can go another year. And then maybe you take Arch the year after that. Or maybe Drew Aller doesn't come out this year and you take him next year. These are just conversations to be had. I'm still in the camp of we must draft somebody. But maybe it's not in the first round now, especially with how Aiden's playing. And again, this is one game. He looked good, but it's one game. Okay? We just have to take a chill pill for just 1 second on we got to take one. Because teams get into trouble with that mindset. If we got to take one. Just have to take a chill pill for a second. I am in the camp of must draft one, but Aidan showed something yesterday. There's no denying that. That was the hardest game on our schedule. No ifs, ands, or buts. And Aidan looked great. He just did. Let's see what people are saying here. Okay. Fans don't want to admit Aidan O'Connell played really good. Yeah, that's a really weird thing that Raiders fans have, that like every time he threw an incompletion, people are like, oh, see, he's terrible. It's like, I don't know, dude. He hasn't played 17 full games yet. Okay. Draft QB, if and only if we get the guy, if not best available. I'd trade out of the top 5. Raiders can get great return and stockpile some equity. I don't disagree with that. QB is not as good as this year's draft. Not as good this year as they were last year. I want best player available other than quarterback in the first. Yeah, I'm starting to feel like there's a chance we could do what we did last year again. If Shador Sanders isn't there, if we don't have the first pick, and again, the problem is, what if we win a couple games we're not supposed to? If Shador Sanders isn't there, and Travis Hunter is, if the Boise State running back is, and then you've got your running back of the future, or you got your number one wide of the future with Brock Bowers. Aidan plays like he's playing. I don't know. It also hinges on who's the quarterback or who the coach is next year, right? And now we can talk about, the Scott Turner of it all. Because yes, the points have not been there, right? But I want to talk about Scott Turner for a little bit. The offense has moved much more efficiently than it has under Luke Getsy. Now, Luke Getsy was the bottom of the barrel, so you can only go up, right? We have to take that into account. But Scott Turner has showed me, with Gardner Minshew, of all people, who has just been awful, and has showed me with Aidan O'Connell now, especially, an ability to not only game plan accordingly, but adapt in the second half. Where Luke Getsy was able to script out the first 15 or so plays very well, and then it just fell off a cliff. Scott Turner might start out a little bit slower, but gets better throughout the game. That's what I like to see out of an offensive coordinator, the ability to adapt and survive whatever Steve Spagnuolo, one of the great defensive minds of all time, was able to throw at you. Scott Turner and North Turner, I guess you have to throw in there, has been able to unlock this running game with Amir Abdullah and Sincere McCormick. Sincere McCormick is a player who, if you're not a Raider fan, you've never heard of. He looks like Josh Jacobs out there with number 28. So should he be the OC next year? I'm saying trending upwards. It's too early to tell. Let's see what he looks like with Aidan O'Connell, right? For more than one game. I wouldn't lock them in, Anthony. I agree. It's only one game. I agree. The running game is actually, yeah, it's good. It's very good. It's very good. Yeah, I said this earlier, Danny. First QB of the year to throw for 300 plus yards against Chiefs D. And Anthony says finally Sincere McCormick got a chance. I think he's going to be the starter for the rest of the season, no doubt about it. I think Scott Turner has a real chance to retain this job, and I think obviously the best chance he have is if Antonio Pierce retains the job. Now, is that going to happen? I don't know. The end of the game, this final sequence, and let's just talk about it right now. This will be the last thing I talk about. The final sequence. Okay. First of all, back to Aidan O'Connell. Okay, 2 big play touchdowns. The lollipop Russell Wilson over the top to Brock Bowers was a great throw, and then the absolute frozen rope to Trey Tucker, where he got popped as he let the ball go, was something that you didn't see all year from Gardner Minshew. I don't know how many quarterbacks can make that throw in that environment under that kind of pressure, but I'm not allowed to say that, or I'm saying he's the second coming. So we'll move on. 2 minutes to go, under 2 minutes to go, right? 2-minute warning is hit. We have the ball at the 8-yard line. Now, 2016 Derek Carr is leading us right down the field. Gardner Minshew had a chance to do this in like the Rams game. 2 incompletions and a pick, right? Desmond Ridder had the chance to do that a couple games ago, or was it last game? Fumbled immediately. So under 2 minutes to go, Aidan O'Connell has the ball. Checks it down to Amir Abdullah, first down. Next play, Brock Bowers, missile over the middle, ball at the 50. Next play, slant to Jacoby Myers in between 2 defenders, ball's at the 40. Next play, checks it down to Amir Abdullah, ball's at the 30. Within 6 plays, Aidan went from our own 8-yard line to the Kansas City Chiefs 28. No timeouts. Short week. Steve Spagnuolo, Chris Jones. Right down the field. So now we're in position to kick a field goal. There's 15 seconds left. And if my dad's watching, hello, dad, I was telling my dad, I don't run a play here. I hike the ball, I roll out to the left, and I throw it away. And that's what they decided they were going to do. The problem is, I don't know what happened. The explanation was Aidan O'Connell said he was clapping to get the guys hurried, which is what you do when you get out of the huddle. Clap, 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 hurry, get to the line. Parham thought the clapping was he needs the ball right now. Parham taps JPJ on the shoulder. JPJ snaps the ball, and the rest is history, right? Unfortunate. Now, what's really unfortunate is they clocked the ball when they could have just ran the ball down to 3 seconds and clocked it. That was a coaching mistake, but it is what it is. The problem with this final sequence, and did the Raiders make a mistake? Yes. The problem that I have with this final sequence is, and this is why I say this is embarrassment for the league, is because the refs went out of their way to have a discussion about something that cannot be discussed. At the top of the screen, when the ball was snapped, before the ball was even fully recovered, one of the head officials, or not one of the head officials, one of the officials runs into the frame of your TV screen, signaling false start, meaning that he saw that players weren't set and took it as a false start. Now, it wasn't technically a false start. It was an illegal shift. The play that, or the call that they ended up making was technically correct. And I broke this all down on my YouTube channel, ALLaBorde Raiders, if you want to see this. The video's up today. The ref comes down and calls false start. That means the play is over. The play is dead. The play never happened. So what really did happen on that field? A couple refs called illegal shift. One of the refs called false start. Now, I've seen if it's a running clock, the illegal shift turns into a false start. If it's a stopped clock, it's an illegal shift. The problem is there's no such thing as a hybrid false start. So if one ref on the field signals false start, that is a dead ball play. So what happens? The refs get together and they go, well, it wasn't really a false start. It was an illegal shift. And we saw how the play would have turned out if the play had been able to be counted with the Chiefs' recovery. So we're going to do the right thing and call an illegal shift because that's really what the call was. It's Chiefs ball, game is over. The problem with doing the right thing in that specific scenario is that if I'm a player on that field and the ball snapped and the ref to my right immediately signals false start, I must now abide by the rules of the game and stop playing. So if the ball snapped, Aidan O'Connell fumbles, the ball's on the ground, and I see a Chiefs player going to recover it, in my mind, I'm like, I got to hit this guy so he doesn't recover it. However, I look to my right, and the ref is signaling dead ball, false start. I can now not hit this guy because in my mind, the play is over. There's no such thing as a hybrid false start that can turn into a play having now counted. Because now if I hit this guy, I run the risk of picking up a penalty because it's a dead ball. So how can you call a false start? Some players don't hear the whistle, the play's still going, even though this guy on film, the cameras have him going false start. Raiders players are on record saying, I saw the guy go false start. If anyone plays sports in a rec league, in high school, in college, in the NFL, if a referee blows the whistle, you stop playing. And this ref comes in and goes false start. Now, was it a false start? No, it was an illegal shift. So they get together and they do something that is not legal. They go, nah, it wasn't a false start, even though you clearly called that. We saw how the play would have turned out, I guess, fumble recovery by the Chiefs. What they should have done was gotten together and said, okay, this guy whistled false start. It's on camera. So what it is an inadvertent whistle. He screwed up. It wasn't a false start. It was an illegal shift, but you blew the play dead. It is what it is. And the precedent being set now in college with the Texas game, where there was a clear, I believe it was either a face mask or an offensive pass interference or something that they clearly botched. They didn't call it. The fans started throwing beer cans on the field. There was like a 10-minute delay, and within that delay, the replay on the Jumbotron was still showing the missed penalty, and the referees looked up at the Jumbotron and then threw the flag. That's not how the game is officiated. That's the integrity of the game going out the window. And then in the Miami game, there was a missed face mask. The referee looks up at the Jumbotron and goes, oops, we missed it, flag. That's not how this works. And the NFL needs to address it right now. I said this on my YouTube channel. Referees are the only position that you could hold in this country that is not reprimanded for not doing their job correctly. Matt Eberflus mismanaged the game and was fired instantly. I'm not calling for referees to be fired, but there needs to be an acknowledgement that the end of that game was not handled correctly, and it's an embarrassment to the NFL. And look, I've got Raider stuff behind me. I get it. It looks like scorned Raider fan, 2-10. Who cares? This could happen to any team in the National Football League. I'm not claiming, oh, the refs just hate the Raiders. That's not what's happening here. What I'm saying is this happens consistently. And then we just move on from it. And it's a shame because 20 million people are watching this Black Friday game. And yes, the Raiders screwed up and they hiked the ball when they shouldn't have. But the guy calls false start, which means you have a chance to let the game play out on the field with the players kicking a field goal to win or lose the game. And now Antonio Pierce in a press conference is being asked about it, and he just has to smile and nod, boys. Smile and nod, smile and wave, because he doesn't want to get fined. So here's the solution. Let Antonio Pierce and the players say whatever they want about the refs. The referees, after every game, should have to hold their own press conferences. And beat writers from the Chiefs and from the Raiders or whoever played in that game should be allowed to ask the refs hard questions, and the refs should have to in turn answer for the mistakes that they made. So now nobody gets fined because the refs get to speak for themselves. And the idea that the referees can come out and say, well, it was a dead ball, the clock wasn't running, so it's an illegal shift. The guy signaled false start. The play is now over. That's it. EOC, end of conversation. And it's a joke and it's an embarrassment. You should not be allowed to retroactively say, well, we saw how the play was going to end up, so this is actually what it was. That's not in the rule book. Doesn't matter if you think you're quote unquote doing the right thing. At least with the Jumbotron thing, you have an argument for, well, we're seeing what's happening, and this should be what the situation is. That's not the case with this situation, though, because if I'm looking at the ref and he's going false start, I'm stop. All right, I'm done. Play's over. I'm done. Stop playing. That was an absolute embarrassment at the end of the game for the National Football League, and they should do some internal investigating. Not on was the game fixed? The game wasn't fixed. They should do some internal investigating on how these situations in these games are mismanaged and get better officials in the positions to make these calls, especially on national televised games. Because you cannot have that. You cannot have a referee going false start and then going, we changed our mind. That's wrong, man. It's wrong. So sorry to go off on a little rant there, but that's got to be fixed. And unfortunately, it happened to us, but it can happen to any team, and it will happen again. And that's got to be stopped. That's the integrity of the football game. That's a dead ball play. Just because you saw how it might have turned out doesn't mean you can just change your mind and wave a magic wand and go. Do you guys remember there was a Charger game where Ed Hockley blew the whistle inadvertently and it kind of stopped like a turnover that would have changed the game at the end? And Ed Hockley got on the mic and said, there was an inadvertent whistle. I stopped the play. That's on me. It's my fault. And he got booed and ridiculed, but at least he got on the mic and said, we screwed up, and now the situation is the situation. They didn't then go, it's an inadvertent whistle, we're just going to replay the down. We're just going to make up our own rules. That's not how this works. Ed Hockley took responsibility in that situation to say, I blew the whistle, I shouldn't have. Sorry. You can look that clip up. It's out there. It's the Charger game, like 15 years ago. That should have been an inadvertent whistle. We kick the field goal and we win or we lose on the missed field goal, but instead they took that away. And I get it. It was a mistake on the Raiders' part, but the play was blown dead. I don't know what else you want me to say. Again, these are just facts. Crazy game. Aidan O'Connell looks sharp. We'll see how he looks the rest of the season. If you're watching on Bleach Report, thank you so much for joining me live here. If you're watching after the fact on YouTube, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. I will see you. Okay, next week. I'll see you Monday. Well, I guess in 2 weeks, technically. That will be December 9th, and that will be 5 p.m. Eastern. So get ready for that. Should be an interesting season for the rest of the year. Hopefully, Aidan O'Connell keeps playing this way, and we have at least this all back for next year. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.